Need insurance coverage that's built for speed? Frank Yea's office in South Charleston has your back. Whether you're blazing down the highway, protecting the home you've built, or setting up a legacy for your family, we've got the coverage you need. Auto, home, life, fast, simple, and made for you. Scan the QR code on your screen now to explore all our services and start a free quote today. Lock it in, save it for later, or call us at 304-744-7700 to get started.
How much signal I need to cut across 8 lane? None? I turn now. Good luck, everybody
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it. They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Among the world's most modern motorsports facilities, Kansas Speedway opened for business in 2001, some 15 miles west of Kansas City, Kansas, under the ownership of International Speedway Corporation. Originally consisting of a 1.5-mile tri-oval with uniform 15-degree banking, the facility underwent a major revamp in 2012 that resulted in progressive banking of the oval, 17 to 20 degrees, along with the addition of a 6-turn road course, incorporating a twisty infield section and all but a few hundred feet of the oval. The facility has permanent seating for 72,000 spectators, along with a hotel and casino featuring more than 100,000 square feet of gaming space. Kansas Speedway has hosted a variety of motorsports events over the years, including all 3 NASCAR Premier Series, ARCA, the IndyCars, and the Grand American Sports Car Series, which utilizes the road course. But tonight, it's race number 12 on a tape delay of Beadles Custom Car Carriers Truck Series. And it's next on Track Limits Network. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the virtual Kansas Speedway Race 12, Season 18 of the Num Thumbs Racing League Beadles Custom Car Carriers Truck Series. Race distance tonight, 120 laps. Air temperature, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 58% humidity, clear skies, a 10-mile-per-hour breeze. Track temperature, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, we are on a tape delay here tonight, so we're going to skip qualifying. We're going to jump right into the race here in just a moment. We'll get to our starting grid momentarily. Qualifying has completed here at the Speedway. A little bit of audio issue here. We'll get that squared away as the race goes on. You may not even notice it, but it is time here. Let's take a look here. Our starting grid for tonight's race on the pole position with a lap time of 30.488 seconds. It is the 7 of Brian McCann. Outside front row from All-Star Racing, it's the number 99. Missed it by 1/1000th of a second, Albert Anderson. Row number 2, it's Paul Ferdiani and Vincent Short. Row 3 is Caleb Sisk and Connor Leach. Row 4 goes to Skylar Herod and Larry Dickerson. Row number 5 will be Justin Lawson and Chris Goins. Starting the 11th spot will be Mike Corvu. Nick Biddy will start 12th. 13th starter, it's the 13 of Paul Durkee. 14th is Scott Milner. 15th starter, it's the 52 of Dylan Bryant. Carson Rowland rolls 16th. Joe David 17th. Tommy Welch 18th. 19th starter is Ryan Kemper. 20th, Tom Barish. 21st goes to Jonathan Marsh, with Mike Fahey starting 22nd. Ryan Pasoko, 23rd. Mark Collins, 24th. Jesse Redding will start 25th. 26th goes to Sean Roberts. 00 Joe Bennett will roll from the 27th spot, with Ben McKinnon, 28th. Jarrett Woodard, 29th. Chris Klein, 30th. Mark Truxell in the 5 will start 31st. Eddie Rose, 32nd. Shotgun on the field is the 24 in 33rd. Of Rick LePage. It's your starting grid here from Kansas Speedway. Field getting gridded up as we speak. If all goes well here tonight, I know we are on a tape delay. We should be able to get the top 3 finishers from this race up in the broadcast booth, even though we are on a delay. And Derek Welch in the chat. Sean Roberts says, LFG, glad this race could still be broadcast. Thanks for checking in, guys. Appreciate that. Happy to do it. A little travel here and some more coming up here in the coming weeks, but shouldn't interfere with the broadcast at all. to get VRL out of the way tomorrow night, then head on down to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Again, race details for this evening. 120 laps the race distance, 70-degree ambient temperature, 58% humidity, clear skies, 7-mile-per-hour breeze. Track temp nice and cool at 73. Again, we are under the lights here this evening. Some penalties being served here tonight. Looks like Albert Anderson may end up going to the back here. So Pace Truck's going to hit pit lane. Front row will be Brian McCann and Vincent Short as he slots his way up a row. Green flag in the air. Leads the field down into turns 3 and 4. Top lane, Vincent Short, Connor Leach down on the bottom. It's the 44. Side-by-side battle for the race lead. Vincent Short going around the outside on Brian McCann. Correction on the 44. It is actually the 33. That's Paul Ferdiani in a different paint scheme here tonight. This being a tape-delayed race, unfortunately, iRacing will only load the paint currently in use by said driver. So if they're in a different league and they're running that currently, different paint scheme will populate this replay. So that's what we're going to see. So in case anybody's wondering, that is the 33 of Paul Ferdiani. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead. Not much of a battle anymore. Vincent Short has taken the top spot from Brian McCann. McCann still running second to battle on in the third position. Ferdiani and Connor Leach side by side. Leach goes to the apron of the racetrack here through the tri-oval. Ferdiani keeps it up on the banking. It's the longer way around, but a little safer as far as handling is concerned. Ferdiani still to the outside of Connor Leach out of turn number 2. Might have him clear. It was close. He opted not to take it, but there, now he gets it. So Ferdiani, sole possession of third place. No challenge really now from Leach. Leach will ride the tire tracks for the time being. Meanwhile, behind them, battle here for position. 5th place, Larry Dickerson, Chris Goins. Both drivers up a handful of spots. Dickerson up 3, Goins up 4. Top 6 trucks starting to put some distance on the rest of the field, about 10 truck lengths back to P7 in Paul Durkee. Goins the last truck in this top 6. Still battling with the 69 of Dickerson for the position. Get him into the top 5 if he can get clear. Short still leads, about a second advantage back to Brian McCann. But again, McCann going to be smart here. Not going to burn up his stuff racing with Vincent Short. Short's got pace here early. The real question is, will he be able to maintain it throughout the course of the event? Tires being an issue. I do not know how many sets we had this evening. I believe it was 2. Derek Welch in the chat asking if Goins was available to help you in the booth here tonight. Well, we talked about that. He is at work, unfortunately, but bringing him up in the booth to call a race he was in, we thought that was kind of strange, so we were trying to come up with an alter ego for Mr. Goins. If he does come up here, though, we'll try and shout him out. I guess we can just say, well, at this point, everyone's going to know it's going to be Chris, so we'll leave it alone. Verdiani jumping to the inside here on Connor Leach. Leach slams the door, not willing to give the position to the 33 machine just yet. Again, correction here, the 44 is the 33. Still Paul Verdiani running in that 4th position. Brian McCann in the chat says, let's go McCann. McCann, of course, the driver of that number 7 Chevrolet in the 2nd spot. 9 laps into the event. Albert Anderson in the chat as well. This is kind of fun doing these. It works out really well when we can do these tape delays on the same night as a typical league race for the series, because it means most of the drivers are available to jump in and watch. So if you guys are watching, we appreciate it. Jump in that stream chat, say hey, as you already are. Short now, almost a 1.5 seconds the lead, back to the 7 of McCann. Either Vince has just got this place figured out or he's set to kill already. It's hard to say right now. Everybody else getting smaller and smaller out the rear window, the number 15. Now battle here just outside the top 10, the 31. Scott Miller way down to the bottom of the racetrack trying to take the spot from Lawson. They're 3 wide. Contact in the middle of the corner. Shoots Lawson up into the 52 of Dylan Bryant. Everybody gets away relatively unscathed. Close call here in the middle of 1 and 2. Deficit shrinking now for Short. McCann has cut into that lead. It's 1.1.5. Deficit now less than a second. Back to Brian McCann in P2. Across the line, 15 laps go up on the board. Brian McCann slowly but surely closing in. Last lap for McCann, 31.72 to Short's 31.89. Ironically, flip those things around as far as the best lap of the race so far. It belongs to Vincent Short at a 30.65. Brian McCann, a 30.75, his fastest. Respectively, Connor Leach in third, a 30.86 is his best to this point. Again, these guys might be out there taking care of their tires. Connor Leach maybe a little bit more than the rest. Well, he does still run in that 3rd position. We'll see if that pays off for him towards the end of this race. Short really giving up ground now. Quarter second back to Brian McCann before we have a battle for the lead on our hands. It won't be long. big run out of turn number 4, closes the deficit down considerably. A truck length, maybe less here, closes the gap big time into 1. Backs up his entry. He'll have a run out of turn number 2 if he's smart about it. McCann right there, 10th and a half off the tailgate of the 15 as they work into turn 3. Truck length and a half between the 15 and the 7. Out of turn 4 yet again, Short continues to lead. Lap time is pretty equal with the top 2 the last lap. A 32 flat for Short, 31.97 for McCann. Couple of changes here in the top 10. Of course, right now, we'll just go through it. Vincent Short, your leader. Brian McCann, second. Connor Leach, third. Dickerson has gotten up into the 4th spot. Chris Goins has cracked the top 5. Nick Biddy in 6th. Durkee, 7th. Caleb Sisk up to 8th. Skylar Herod, 9th. Justin Lawson is 10th, and already changes have been made. Battle for the race lead here side by side. McCann gets alongside Short out of turn 2, but tucks back in behind. Unable to get it done this time. Interesting to watch. McCann and Short running very different lines around this racetrack. You saw the deficit that McCann had out of 4, was able to reel him back in here down into turn 1. Now they're to the backstretch, and you'll see Short pulling away again. Puts 6 truck lengths between himself and McCann. On board with the 7. Battle for the lead has settled down for the time being. Vincent has extended it back out to just about 7/10 of a second here. 25 laps in here at Kansas Speedway. Those top 2, though, through that battle, were still able to put more distance on 3rd place, Larry Dickerson. Dickerson in 3rd now has taken that spot from Connor Leach and is putting some distance between himself and the 71. Again, this is all going to roll back to who's taking care of the tires the best here, as well as maybe saving a little bit of fuel. Going a little bit longer, adding a couple of laps to that fuel run. May all come out in the wash here by the end of this thing. We'll see. It's going to really determine or be determined by the cautions that we see or do not see here tonight. Chris Goins still back in the 5th spot. Now Caleb Sisk in P6. Following up on that battle for the lead as it has cooled off considerably, about 5.5 tenths back is Brian McCann. Likely burned his tires up a little bit here, trying to get around Vince earlier on in the run. He's backed off a bit here, probably trying to cool those tires down and make another go at it very soon. Also got to worry about pit stops. We're not quite there yet, but that time is coming. Brian coming back closer now, 3.5 tenths off the race lead. He's reeling Vince back in. Short up the racetrack. Again, different lanes here. I think McCann just trying to keep some clean air on the nose of that number 7 Silverado. Gets alongside here out of turn number 2. He might have it this time. Into 3, and he's clear. Short doesn't put up much of a fight. Knew his tires were starting to go away as well. So Short relegated back to P2. McCann, pole sitter here tonight. Back to the point here as they put lap 30 up on the board. Quarter distance here at Kansas Speedway. Meanwhile, Carson Rowland in pit lane as well as some others. Mark Truxell, Tommy Welch, Scott Milner, Eddie Rose. And Rowland losing connection here. He comes back in, but here comes race leader Brian McCann to pit lane. Well, that answers that. Fuel window about 30 laps. Oh, one driver a little wide on entry to pit lane, puts it in the grass. Might have been Mike Corvu in the 97. Indeed it was. McCann puts 4 tires on the number 7, drops the jack, heads back out. 14:60, a very fast pit stop for Brian McCann. Now Connor Leach, Caleb Sisk, Nick Biddy, Skylar Harrod, the S3 crew all coming down at the same time. Pit stops just about complete. Looks like the majority of the field able to get down after they put lap 30 up on the board, so that should set them up if they can continue this pace. If we go green all the way to the end, it's going to be tight on fuel. They really need to save about a lap per run here to kind of build some insurance before this one's over. So meanwhile, through that exchange, McCann back out in front. And wow, McCann did a great job getting into pit lane and out. Put 6 seconds on Vincent Short, who was second at the time, but Dickerson gained some ground through that cycle of pit stops. He jumps up to the second spot. Dickerson in second there, battling with Short. On board with the 69. Battling going, Short gets clipped. Straightens it back out. What a save by the 15 of Vincent Short. Connor Leach is going to take advantage and take the spot through the slowed pace of the 15. I did not see who made contact there. I don't think it was a lead lap truck. Maybe it was, no. I couldn't tell who it was. That was close, though. What a save. So Short slips from third back to P5. So work his way back towards the front. There's some lap traffic mixed in here now. So now McCann still with the lead. Dickerson's second. Larry's quick right now, but 5.5 seconds back. Chris Goins running in the third spot. He's up 7 positions from where he started tonight. Still impressed with that save by Vincent Short. Through the tri-oval here at Kansas. Little bit of contact was made. That could have been very bad for a lot of drivers, but Vince gathered it back up, lost a few spots, but he's still in the top 5 here and within striking distance of Connor Leach and Chris Goins. Now Leach applying pressure to Goins here for that third spot. He may have it at the exit of this corner. Some lap traffic in the mix here as well. I think that's 80 of Jonathan Marsh. Leach drives it in pretty deep here. He'll get clear of Goins. Goins not going to push the issue. Again, it is still pretty early. Battles inside the top 15 here. Justin Lawson and Jesse Redding. Redding the black and green number 21 topside. Lawson on the bottom in the 20. Lawson still trying to get clear. Jesse Redding here can't get it done. Redding using the outside to carry that momentum, keep him alongside. Now Lawson loses big time connection, but he comes back in. Redding's going to get clear through that though. Now Sean Roberts will apply some pressure to the back of the 20 machine. Back out front, still Brian McCann in charge. 5.4 back to Larry Dickerson. It was about 4.3 just a couple of laps ago. Larry seemed like he was kind of shortening up the gap between himself and the race lead, but something happened. Either McCann found an extra gear, or Dickerson had a small mistake, lost about a second. So now it's 5.25 seconds back to second place. Connor Leach runs third, Goins fourth, Vincent Short fifth. We are approaching another round of green flag stops, about 15 laps away from it. First round really started to see drivers peel off about lap 28. Some drivers coming down as late as lap 32. Not many, though. I think Sean Roberts might have been the only one to make that pit stop that late in the run. Which really, if he can do it this next run as well, go another couple of laps, that buys him some insurance here for the end of this race. Leach just scrapes the wall just a hair there on the entry to turn one. Chris Goins trying to put the pressure back on the 71, but Goins catches the wall, exit at turn two. He's not the first one to do that here this afternoon. Loses some ground, no positions lost just yet. Goins does have Vincent Short, though, closing in. Short back about a half second. Goins hanging on to P4 for the time being. Vincent Short in fifth. Has closed that gap considerably now. It's right there, truck length, maybe less, for the back bumper of Chris Goins. Goins drives it in deep into turn number three, gains a couple of truck lengths, but goes way to the top is Vincent Short. See if he can build a run out of turn four. Should be right to the back bumper of Goins here into turn number one if he played his cards right, but a loose truck there in front of the drivers. I think that's the 13, might be the 12. Can't really make out the number. That is the 12. Ben McKinnon having a moment there in the dog leg down on the flat of the racetrack. Goins hangs on to the spot for now. Short goes topside again. Short went to the bottom now. Goins up top. Larry Dickerson in a battle with Paul Ferdiani. They make contact. Ferdiani up the racetrack, slides to the top, doesn't hit the wall, maybe scrapes it a touch. But man, how did they get away with that? No caution still. Ferdiani continues on, so does Larry Dickerson. Paul was a lap truck at the time, was fighting hard, it appeared, with Larry Dickerson. So Larry loses a ton of ground now. It's almost 6 seconds to the race lead. Meanwhile, during that exchange, Vincent Short ended up losing that spot to Goins. Had it for a bit. Goins battled back and regained it. Again, be ready, folks. About halfway here, we're going to start to see some green flag stops yet again. We tried for a caution stop, but still haven't gotten that yellow. Knock on wood. Harsh in the fence off at 2. Jones still hanging on to that 4th position, looking sharp in the top 5. Not really losing any momentum is the 15 of Vincent Short, hanging there in 5th. Nick Biddy going to take the spot, goes around the outside though. Vince may battle back in the bottom of the racetrack. We'll see if he's got anything for Nick here. Vince losing a little bit of ground here as we get late in the run. So with that, just before halfway, we're going to bring another broadcaster up into the broadcast booth. It's Joe Waterman. Joe, it's Steve with Track Limits. You got us? And I think we got him now.
Can you hear me now?
I got you.
Perfect.
So lap 58 here at Kansas Speedway, approaching our second round of green flag stops. We've tried hard for a caution or two, but we haven't gotten one yet. We're not fooling anybody. We know it's Chris Cones.
Who?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we already blew our own cover on this. Derek Welch brought it up in the chat, and I said we were trying to come up with an alter ego for you if you came up, considering you're actually in this race. But everybody knows it's a delay, so either way, thanks for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be able to go back and relive this with you.
Lap 60 on the board. A couple of drivers making pit stops here. Scott Milner, Mike Corvu, Saghetti Rose pulling away from his stall. Question is, when do the leaders come down? And right now, end of lap 60, Brian McCann hard on the brakes, not wasting any time. Last second getting down to pit road speed. Looks like Larry Dickerson's going to roll in as well. So Connor Leach will inherit the top spot. Gones will run to second, and then Nick Biddy, Vincent Short, Skylar Harrod at fifth. Now, Chris, since we got you in the booth, how many sets of tires did we have over the wall for these guys? Do you remember?
Yeah, over the wall we had 3 sets.
Okay.
So 4 total.
Answering that, McCann has used his second set of tires on his second pit stop. Meanwhile, Nick Biddy from the race lead, he'll come down and pit. Looks like Skylar Harrod in tow. Some of these guys were able to go a little bit longer. Now, Sean Roberts has inherited the top spot. We talked about him. He was the only driver to make it to lap 32 before pitting the first time around. So if he's careful with his fuel, likely to be the last driver to make his green flag stop on this run. Roberts still with the lead. Lawson from second. He'll make the pit stop here. We're still watching Roberts here. Looks like he's trying to get down to the bottom of the racetrack here to make his stop. Down to the flat. Slippery entry there into pit lane. Brian McCann has cycled back to the race lead. Dickerson still second, but remember the 6-second advantage McCann had before the pit stop? Well, now it's 9.5 seconds. McCann running away. So 66 laps complete, second round of green flag stops in the book. We're going to step aside, get a track limits side-by-side break out of the way. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back at Kansas Speedway, Brian McCann continues to lead. There's been a change for the second spot. Connor Leach has gone into that position. Meanwhile, Larry Dickerson has dropped out. Do not know what has happened to the 69 machine, but he is parked in pit lane for the time being. See if we can find it here. And somehow this did not bring us a caution. So 71 laps in. Timing tower is not cooperating here. We're having some issues with that. Hopefully that squares itself because I can't refresh anything or we're going to lose this whole thing. It's one of the drawbacks to doing the tape delay. It's nice that we can get out there and call the race as we have, but whatever, I don't know, glitches, I guess you could call, that come with the replay, they get duplicated. Some of that tied into the graphical settings of the origin of the replay, and on top of that, the overlay software that we use doesn't play the best with replays. So you'll see in the timing tower, we're losing some of the data. It does come back. But all I can say is deal with it for now. There's nothing we can do about it. So, Chris, as we watch this race, it really does seem like you can be fast for a certain amount of time if you want to go 10 tenths, but fast in the long run, which we've seen quite a bit here in this truck series this year, is taking care of the equipment, the truck, keeping the tires underneath it, and kind of maybe going 7 tenths for a while and seeing what happens, because guys that push hard early just haven't been able to stay up front.
Yeah, especially at this track, you know, it's so wide that you have many different lines that you can run. But you have to be mindful of what each line is going to be able to do long term for those tires. Me, I'm kind of a bottom feeder most of the time. You know, around that bottom here, that first dark seam going around, that's kind of where I kind of hover. About where Brian is, maybe a little bit lower in right now, but you know, you see a lot of these guys, especially Larry Dickerson. You notice he's up by the wall the whole time. I don't know how those guys run it. I get terrified up there, but. You know, with these, once you get them heated up, it's hard to cool them back off, and you will push heavy off the corners. I think I've gotten in the wall a couple times already at this point, but yeah, the cream definitely rises to the top with whoever can maintain those tires for long term.
Now, obviously, a tight handling race truck means that the nose just wants to push up the racetrack. More how much wheel you put into it, it doesn't want to turn. So you get that right front hot, you exacerbate that tight condition, and of course the tight condition makes the tire get even hotter, and then it makes the tight condition even worse. So it just continues to domino effect and snowball until either that tire wears out or you park it in the fence.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and the longer it goes, you know, if you don't correct it, in whether it's your entry or your mid corner speed or whatever, it gets worse. So a lot of times what you'll see a lot of drivers do is kind of sling the truck into the corner and kind of get that truck in yaw to put more pressure on that right rear versus the right front, and kind of steer their way through with more of the throttle than as much as they do the steering wheel.
Sounds real easy when you talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easier to do it when you're down where Nick Biddy is right here, but when you're up there with Vince, if one little mistake and you're riding that wall the whole corner all the way through.
Watching Vincent Short here in the 4th position. Vince has been strong all night. Started 4th, led laps early, quite a while actually, and now we see Biddy getting the wall off of turn 2. Looks like Skylar Herod may have followed him into it. But Vince had a very close call prior to our second round of green flag stops. Saved the truck, didn't really get into anything. We didn't get a caution, but he scrapes the wall there as well as we get near the end of this run as well. But he's maintained that position within the top 5 pretty much all night long. He's doing a good job to this point.
Yeah, and I know I wasn't here at the beginning for the first half of the race, basically, but he was like rocket early. He was out there, way out there. So he's been fast at Kansas for a number of seasons, as you see him doing exactly what I'm terrified to do up top.
Well, and that's really what you were just talking about, Chris, is truck starts to push, and then you end up riding the wall all the way through the corner, and that's just about what Vince did there, maybe half the corner, but nonetheless, it's becoming an issue. He's adjusted his lane. Granted, he's got Nick Biddy to the top side now, but he's trying to put that truck down low.
Yep. You know, you get in that wall one time, it scares you for a lap or two to want to throw it back up high. But you know, Vince you'll see him. He comes down a little bit lower than he was, but you know, he's not afraid to throw it in there.
Still a side-by-side battle. This is for position with Short and Biddy. Short in the number 15, Biddy up top in the 32. This all for the 4th position. Biddy gets clear for now. See if Vince goes back on the attack. Changes lanes, goes back to the top. Now, I got to wonder, too, Chris, a lot of this has got to be just trying to keep the truck in clean air, right?
Yeah, for sure. You know, there's a lot of aero push when you get lined up behind somebody. You know, I drive in the mirror sometimes. I'm not afraid to admit that. You know, I'll see somebody that maybe as fast, if not a little bit faster than me, and I'll watch where they are, and I'll just kind of lap or two throw my truck in front of them and kind of slow down their momentum some. So, but yeah, these are very aero dependent trucks.
Well, this race approaches its 3rd round of green flag pit stops in a row. Let's take a look here. We've got some points to go over. We've got 2 sets of points. This series has 2 different setups here. It's the Silver Championship standing, and that's presented by Gulf Coast Sand. You see it there on the left side of your screen. Joe David leads it. Then it's Vincent Short, Justin Lawson, Chris Klein, Jarrett Woodard. And then on the right side of your screen there, it shows the team championships. There's team points to be considered here. S3, that would be the Sisk Speed Shop. They lead the point standings really by a pretty wide margin over Track Bar Motorsports, the Goats, Lone Star Racing, and Outcast. S3 kind of running away with things. Now, the overall points on the season, that's where we're at right now. Brian McCann leads those points. Then it's Connor Leach, Caleb Sisk, Chris Goins, and Double O Joe in 5th. See the rest further on down the line. And, of course, the full season standings presented by Davidson Builders. Pit stops underway. Vincent Short pulls down the flat of the racetrack, hits pit road. A little early for Short here. I don't know if he's gambling. I thought 30 laps was about as far as these guys were going to be able to make it on a tank of fuel. It's going to leave Vince a little bit short here if this runs green to the end.
Intended.
Four tires and fuel for the 15. Drop the jack and head back out. 15 flat. Meanwhile, Brian McCann, a 10-second advantage over the second-place machine of Connor Leach. That is a 1/3 of a lap. McCann can definitely take care of his equipment at this point. Maybe save a little bit of fuel, try and stretch that run past the 90-lap mark so get himself some insurance for this thing in case we end up with a late green-white checkered. Again, no caution to speak of yet, but there's always that chance. Caleb Sisk now in pit lane. Sisk into the pit stall, right side tires going on his Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Sunoco race fuel going in. Jack is down, crew around to the left. A 4-tire change for Caleb Sisk. fuel to the end. He's down and away. Should be able to make it if he's careful. Brian McCann still out in front. And here comes Brian. Lap 90, or the end of it for that matter. Into pit lane. Last stop of the day for the 7. Last set of tires going on for Brian McCann as well. This should be enough to get him to the end without issue. Connor Leach now with the race lead. May see him come down. In fact, he's pitting right now. Connor Leach, 71 from the race lead. And Chris, I got to say it. You already know the results. I don't, but this is Brian McCann's race to lose at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. He was in a league of his own. I mean, let's be honest, he normally is, but he, especially here, I mean, he has the pace, the tire saving. I'm sure he could have stretched the fuel if he needed to as well. He's a fun one to try and race though, because he makes you work to get better. And I enjoy racing those guys in this league that have that ability to do so.
Brian McCann with 4 wins on the season coming into tonight. Took him a little while to get going. Didn't see him hit victory lane until race number 5 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but then he went 2 in a row. Gave a couple up to Caleb Sisk and Connor Leach, then picked one up at Bristol. Then Nick Biddy got his at Talladega. And then Brian McCann trying to go 2 in a row again this week after his win at Kansas. Meanwhile, Jesse Redding now in the race lead. Actually, Redding might be out of fuel here. Yep. Redding running out of gas. It's under power right now. Unless we have a caution. We do have a caution. Didn't get announced, though. Another thing we have to deal with these tape-delayed broadcasts, but we got a button for that. So yellow on the Speedway. First one of the day. Jesse Redding is leading in need of a pit stop, so this could really work out pretty decently for him. There's a lot of drivers that may have already completed their stop, so they're going to get to stay out. This will definitely get everybody in a good window as far as fuel is concerned to the end. This is a nice tire advantage, I think, for Jesse. Come down in pit here. Looks like himself and Justin Lawson both still have a set of tires over the wall, maybe even Mike Fahey. Going to lose some track position out of this, but there's only 11 trucks on the lead lap, it looks like, so it's not going to hurt them too bad. And we got Zach Millett in the chat. Little legs. You know, you know.
Oh, we know.
So 4 tires and fuel for Jesse Redding, 15.13 seconds. So McCann will have the race lead over Connor Leach, Nick Biddy, Chris Goins, and Dylan Bryant. That's your top 5. Then it's Skylar Herod, Paul Durkee, Justin Lawson, Jesse Redding, Mike Fahey. Now, as we just mentioned, Redding and Fahey both were able to wait until the caution came out to take their last set of tires and fuel. So we'll see if that works out for them in the end. Trying to figure out exactly what put this caution out, and it turns out it was Chris Goins. Spun the truck exiting pit lane.
Completing the 5th.
Yeah, you're saying that only because I can't go back and replay it without screwing this whole thing up. I even had to delete my live button here in my camera controls because I knew I'd click it.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that take you to the very end of it.
Takes you to the end of the replay, the whole replay.
Quick race.
The lights are out of the pace truck here. Quick caution. Front row will be Brian McCann and Connor Leach erasing the massive lead that McCann had over second place. It's like a new race. 25 to go. It'll be 24 to go when we cross start finish. Pace truck is in. McCann with a good jump. McCann back to start finish, still with the lead, and through that caution, Chris Goins still in third place. But for how long? Nick Biddy to the bottom of the racetrack, looking for that spot. Gets clear off of 2. Haven't heard much from Dylan Bryant here tonight. Started back in P15, up into the top 5 for the first time this evening with 23 laps remaining. The 52 runs in the tire tracks to Chris Goins, changes lanes here at start finish, jumps in behind the 32 of Nick Biddy. Side by side with Goins into turn number 1. To no one's surprise, Brian McCann already stretching some daylight between himself and Connor Leach. It's 0.4 of a second since the restart and growing. Now it's about a half second. McCann just so fast from the mid-corner out. Nick Biddy working his way through here, closed the gap on Connor Leach quickly, but now he's got to deal with Dylan Bryant to the inside. Paul Durkee now up in the mix. Laps to go. McCann still leads. Deficit back to Leach about the same, half a second. He's got his hands full with Nick Biddy off of turn number 2. Look at that outside lane, just inches off the wall. Or none. Biddy in the fence, scrapes it a bit, entering turn 3.
And that's so easy to do with them entering the corner right behind the truck in front of you. You've got to, just like every other track, even drafting tracks, you got to pinpoint a location to set for your turn in to be able to stay out of that wall. I can't explain to you how uncomfortable it is entering on the high side, just in line with other trucks in front of you.
I think we talked about that a bit in Texas about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago now. Got to really just try to find some kind of a landmark on the fence. Sometimes it's a cone or a caution light or a fan with a fluorescent hat. Yes, the drivers can usually pick those things out. The problem is when that guy goes to get a hot dog, then what do you do?
I was going to say, I tried that one time. The guy went and got a beer, and I was flying through the air.
17 to go. Not much of a battle for the lead here, but it's a lot going on behind Brian McCann. Nick Biddy jumps to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll take second easily from Connor Leach. I don't know if Leach just let him go. Again, they are a Sisk Speed Shop team, and there are team points. So you're going to see a lot of what DW would call, and I don't mean Derek Welch, talking Darrell Waltrip now, some co-opetition. Maybe that was a Larry Mack thing. I can't remember. Either way, you get the point. These guys trying to position themselves the best way they can to maximize their day points-wise. Which at this point, I don't even know if I would be doing that. They've got such a strong lead in the team points. I would almost throw that in the trash for now. Worry about it if that second place team at Track Bar Motorsports starts to reel them in. Mike Fahey taking full advantage of those newer tires. He's up now into the 6th position. Looking at it now, he takes 5th from Chris Goins. Jesse Redding still mired back in 10th. Jones goes to the bottom, tries to take it back. Meanwhile, Chris has got to worry about Skylar Herod right there to the back bumper. 13 to go. McCann slowly stretching out his advantage. Sees the 32 is starting to get closer there. Grabbed another gear yet again. Herod scrapes the wall, loses some ground on Jones. I want to get a call to Albert Anderson here. He put the truck outside pole, missed that starting spot by 1/1000th of a second, but had to go to the back to serve a penalty. He's running in 11th, working on Justin Lawson here pretty soon. He's got a ways to go, but a good recovery for the 99. Would have been nice to see him battle out in front. I think he had a shot at this thing, but just had a lot of work to do to get back up in contention. Jesse Redding now up a position in 9th, working on 8th from Paul Durkee. Durkee is typically the 13 truck. He's in the 31 here. Again, talked about using the replay. It'll only load the paint that is currently in use. So if somebody switched paint since last race, that's what's going to show. So I'm not blaming anybody tonight. Redding now in the 8th position. Next on the hit list for the 21 machine is going to be Chris Goins.
Little like working overtime.
Mike Fahey working his way through here. You know, he's in the 4th position. Started 22nd. Trying to scuff up the tailgate of Nick Biddy here as Biddy gets the wall off of turn number 2. Leach back about 8 tenths plus from Brian McCann with 8 laps to go. I gotta say, Chris, I mean, the new tires for those guys are showing to have some benefit, but not quite the benefit that I expected. Same token, though, I think that caution came out of just a few laps after the green flag stopped, so not a whole lot of time lapse for those drivers that pit prior to burn off that rubber.
Yeah, when that caution came out, like me, for instance, I had just come out of the pits with them, so I hadn't even done a full green flag lap on them yet. So they did have less wear on them than some of the guys that were running up front. I think you saw, Brian pit a little earlier than the rest of us. Connor, well, no, I think I pit with Connor, but a few guys that had some extra laps on there. But these guys have done a pretty good job, looks like, of really maximizing their tire life too to get towards the front. I know you had Mike and Jesse coming through there as well.
15 trucks still on the lead lap here at Kansas. 5.5 laps to go. Brian McCann, the dominant driver all night long. Really, we've had more than 2 race leaders. Of course, the caution comes out here, 6 laps to go. We are under the yellow flag, but Vincent Short pretty much led the first stint to the first round of green flag stops. Haven't seen much of him since then. McCann has kind of dominated since then. We've had a couple of leaders in between the pit stops, but man, he has just been so dominant here tonight. Gonna have to see. This might put us into green-white checkered territory with the yellow coming out just now, and I believe it was Vincent Short having the issue. Give it a go here, see if I can get this replay to work. Fingers crossed I don't screw this up. Oh, big time hit here just past start finish. Looks like the 2 gets into the back of Short, sends him down the track. Does he clip Mark Truxell here? Does not, but in the correction, goes back up the track, collects Pasoko. Into the fence they go. Our second yellow of the evening. With that, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back after this.
Need insurance coverage that's built for speed? Frank Yea's office in South Charleston has your back. Whether you're blazing down the highway, protecting the home you've built, or setting up a legacy for your family, we've got the coverage you need. Auto, home, life, fast, simple, and made for you. Scan the QR code on your screen now to explore all our services and start a free quote today. Lock it in, save it for later, or call us at 304-744-7700 to get started.
Signal I need to cut across 8 lane. None? I turn now. Good luck, everybody
Back at Kansas Speedway, working caution number 2. 4 laps to go on the board for now. It looks like the pace truck lights have gone out, so we should be green. No, they are still lit. So let's see what happens. In 120 laps, the scheduled distance. Lights are out. We'll be green the next time by. Should give us a natural green-white checkered. So this won't count towards our allotment. But if things get crazy, we may get another one. You never know. We do have Zach Millett in the booth. He's down in the garage area in the infield here. What's going on, Zach?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Good to have you back. It's been a while.
It's been a long time. Yeah, it's good to be back in the Track Limits Network broadcast booth here.
Well, we're lined up. Another opportunity here for Connor Leach to see if he's got anything for Brian McCann. Then behind them, with a little bit newer tires, it's the 19 of Mike Fahey and then Nick Biddy. Further back there in the top 10 still, Jesse Redding, also with a little bit newer tires, same age as Fahey. We'll see if they can take advantage of those fresher tires, only by a few laps, but every little bit helps. Green flag in the air. We're back racing from Kansas.
I've seen my favorite driver up there in P4. Come on, baby, let's do it.
McCann maintains the top spot down the back straightaway, leads him into turn number 3, just wants to see that white flag, not worried about a green-white checkered at this point. Will he get there in time? Crossover from Connor Leach to the inside of Nick Biddy, coming to the line, white flag in the air, final lap from Kansas. Leach, hammer down on the go button here, trying to reel in Brian McCann. He's a truck length off the back bumper through 1 and 2. Final attempt at taking the spot. He's in the fence off at 2. It's going to jack up the field behind him, and Fahey goes around. So does Nick Biddy. We got big-time trouble behind the race leaders.
Oh, boy.
Monster pile up here in turn number 3, but that's all she wrote. Brian McCann clear sailing out in front. He'll cross the start-finish line first and win it at Kansas for win number 5 and 2 in a row. Connor Leach will finish second. Dylan Bryant will come home in third. Joe David, Albert Anderson to round out the top 5. Well, Chris, you said it during the break. It's going to get fun. It got fun.
Yeah, it depends on which end of it you're on. But if I was in Brian's shoes or in his truck per se, it definitely was fun. It was interesting last lap. From my perspective, I had the seas parted and then they closed up real quick. So just a lot of chaos there at the end.
Man, I put the wireless headset back on. I'm running back down to the garage because I think there's going to be some angry drivers down there. I'll let you know what I see.
Brian McCann burning it down here at start-finish. That's all she wrote. That's got to be the 5th engine he's grenaded after a race this season. Those guys got to hate that.
I think he does his own engine work, so.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're going to step aside, get one more break out of the way, and hopefully get our top 3 up in the booth here. It should be McCann, Connor Leach, and Dylan Bryant. And we got McCann already there. Connor Leach is at work, but he said he'd try to jump in if he could. But stay with us. We'll be back after this.
Need insurance coverage that's built for speed? Frank Yea's office in South Charleston has your back. Whether you're blazing down the highway, protecting the home you've built, or setting up a legacy for your family, we've got the coverage you need. Auto, home, life, fast, simple, and made for you. Scan the QR code on your screen now to explore all our services and start a free quote today. Lock it in, save it for later, or call us at 304-744-7700 to get started.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back at Kansas Speedway, race 12 in the books. Brian McCann picking up win number 5, 2 in a row after winning at Texas. Let's see if we can get a word with our pole sitter and race winner, Brian McCann, Dr. Weird himself. Brian, it's Steve Chris and Zach Millen in the booth. Track limits, you got us?
I do. How's everybody doing?
Doing well, sir. A job well done yet again. You've certainly found your stride in these trucks this season. Win number 5, second in a row. Dominating performance here tonight. We were a little bit unsure early on in the run. You put the truck on pole, but Vincent Short didn't waste any time, got around you and led the majority of that first, I guess you could call it a segment, but pit stops came around. You got a big advantage there and then drove away. Were you saving a little bit in that first round?
Yeah, I hopped in practice and noticed that the fuel was like real close, so I tried the bottom line, tried the top line, and I noticed that the top line, burned a little bit more fuel, and so I didn't want to do that. So I practiced the low line, and Vincent, man, he took off and just left us, and I wasn't sure if he's going to wear his tires out or run out of fuel, but he made it work, and I thought I might could get back around him, but he held his own. So I knew right then that track position was king. Once again, it pretty much is all week, but. I just stuck to my strategy, that bottom line, fuel saving, tire saving, and luckily every time I come out of the pits, I had clean air, so that helped too.
A couple of late restarts to contend with. Connor Leach wasn't able to make really much of a move around you. You're obviously fast at this place, but was there any doubt in your mind there in those last couple of restarts if Connor Leach had anything for you or not?
Yeah, I mean, you could have some teamwork, some draft work. I was pretty worried because I think it was a few teammates behind me there that could work together and freight train around me if they got a good run or if I had a little slip up or whatever. So I had to play it perfect, and luckily I was able to stay in front of them there.
Well, another win in the books, 2 in a row as we move to Charlotte Motor Speedway next week. One of your favorite playgrounds. Can you make it 3 in a row?
Charlotte's definitely one of my favorites. I'm really familiar with the track, so it's going to be I think it's going to be challenging, but there's some guys out there that can do it, so let's see what happens.
The humble Brian McCann. Congratulations, man. Who do you want to shout out to before we let you go?
My family, you for doing an amazing broadcast. That's quite interesting on tape delay here, being able to watch it while it's happened last week, so that was amazing. And everybody showed up last week to race, sponsors, league admins, race control, everybody watching tonight. Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for talking to us, Brian. Good luck next week, and I don't know if you're going to Charlotte this weekend. If you are, let me know. I'll see if we can have a beer together.
All right.
See ya. Brian McCann, your race winner here at Kansas. Next, talk to runner-up Connor Leach. Looks like it's going to be our only 2 interviews tonight. We don't have Dylan Bryan, unfortunately. But either way, Connor Leach will make it good. The second place finisher, number 71. Connor, it's Steve, Chris, and Zach in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I think I got you.
Connor, congrats, man. A job well done. Just, you're like anybody else here. I don't think anyone had anything for Brian McCann, but walk us through the race. Was there anything you could potentially have thought back on trying differently that could have gotten you the win here tonight instead of finishing runner-up?
I mean, besides wrecking the guy, probably just being bad restarts. I think that's been the been a bit of an issue the last few races. I mean, especially these tracks we've been at, these mile and a halves, the clean air is just so huge to get. And if you can't get it early, you probably won't get it later, especially in a guy like McCann.
Got to work on pit strategy as well. Certainly that helps. He seemed to gain a ton of time getting into and out of the pits tonight. He put 5 seconds on second place at one point just in those green flag exchanges. We've got another mile and a half at Charlotte next week. Is there any time to get some practice in before that event, next race 13?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to get some practice in getting in and out of the box, but I'm usually okay in and out of the box. I think just I was always pitting a lap or two after he was, just kind of get there, lead a lap, maybe a caution comes out, maybe it doesn't, and didn't seem like we had too many this race.
Well, that's a strong finish here. Second place. The points keep piling up for your S3 guys. We're going to let you go here, but who do you want to shout out to?
Oh, just out to you guys for putting the broadcast on. Derek and all his guys, and Lori for coming in doing the race control for the last few races, and obviously my team, all those guys. We had a super strong run going, and there's a big kerfuffle at the end there with guys coming on fresh tires. Guy hits them, bounces off, get a little net code here and there, then it turns into a big pile up going into turn 3 on the last lap there, which is unfortunate. Took out a few of our teammates there, some good trucks and quite a few others, so unfortunate end to that one, but yeah, hopefully we can come back, have a good strong run at Charlotte, maybe get in some clean air for once.
Well, Connor, congratulations, man. Job well done. Wish you the best of luck next week. Thanks for chatting.
All right, thanks.
Connor Leach, your runner-up here. We do not have Dylan Bryant, unfortunately, but he was still our third-place finisher. Started back in the 15th spot, quietly worked his way through the field, missed some chaos there at the end of this thing to finish third. So job well done for Dylan Bryant coming over from the VRL to race in this league. So great finish for the 52 machine. Get into our race results on the evening. Of course, we talked to Brian McCann, Connor Leach, and Dylan Bryant. They were your top three. Fourth place was Joe David. Albert Anderson fifth. Sean Roberts was sixth. Chris Goins in the booth finished seventh. Double O Joe finished in the 8th spot. Caleb Sisk ninth. Are these even the right results? Yes, they are. Thank goodness. 10th place, Jesse Redding, a top 10 for the 21. Those new tires didn't get him too much forward progress, but he didn't lose anything either, so a solid finish for the 21. Justin Lawson was 11th. Nick Biddy, 12th. 13th, Mike Fahey. He had fresh tires late, but got collected in that last lap crash. Paul Durkee was 14th. Skylar Herod was 15th. 16th place was Mark Truxell. Jarrett Woodard was 17th. Carson Rowland, 18th. 19th place, Mark Collins. 20th, Scott Milner. 21st, Tommy Welch. 22nd, Chris Klein. Old Eddie Rose finished 23rd. Ben McKinnon, 24th. Mike Corvu was 25th. 26th, Ryan Kemper. Rick LePage, 27th. 28th, Paul Ferdiani. Vincent Short, after a strong run early, will finish 29th, 5 laps down. Ryan Pisoko was 30th. 31st, Larry Dickerson. Tough break for Larry. He was involved in a crash as well. Jonathan Marsh was 32nd, and Tom Barish, last but not least, in the 33rd position. That wraps up the results portion of the broadcast. Guys, thanks for jumping up here tonight. Chris Goins, I know it's kind of an awkward one to be here in the booth calling a race that you participated in. But again, as always, appreciate the support. Maybe we'll see you again tomorrow for VRL. Millet, you're also always welcome, as you have been for quite some time. But jump up whenever you want, man. I'm glad you were here.
Absolutely, man. It's good to be here. I'll try to jump in a little bit more if the work schedule allows it. I love being up here with you guys.
Yeah, a 3-man booth at Track Limits. What's going on?
Mother of God.
With that said, thanks guys for joining us. Thank you everyone for joining in the stream chat, watching tonight's broadcast. I'm sure we had some fresh faces because, well, nobody was driving tonight. They got to watch the broadcast. Thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. Come back here tomorrow night for the VRL. We're going to be at North Wilkesboro Speedway for the All-Star Race. And then, of course, next week will be the home race, Charlotte Motor Speedway, Tuesday and Wednesday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.